Hey everybody, it's the Keto Baron back with another video. If you enjoy the channel, please don't hesitate to like any of the content that you enjoy, as well as subscribe if you really like it. Now, before we go any further, I realize that not everybody hates you when you're on keto, but what I wanted to do was talk about the social awkward situations that arise when you're on a keto diet and kind of where they come from and how you see them. Now, the first thing I would say is that I am overwhelmed by the support and the love that I've received from my friends and family and now the YouTube community over my journey, and the support is absolutely tremendous. And this isn't necessarily a list of complaints as much as I thought about what would be good for me to know if I was going back to myself 10 months ago, just with interacting with people and the socialization aspect. And one of the things you have to realize is this is such a shock to people. When you're and let's use the example of a party. When you're at a party and you say no to maybe some lasagna or maybe to birthday cake, that surprises people. If they know you, it's surprising, right? And just in general, for someone to say no to cake is a bit of a shock for some people. Food is an important way we socialize and communicate with one another. And I'm not like a social scientist or a researcher or anything like that, but I've been around, and food is pretty important. We say the phrase "break bread with somebody," and that indicates how important sharing a meal is with people for whatever reason. A common dating or date, I guess. I haven't been on many dates with different people other than Mrs. Barron, but when you're on those dates, you go to dinner. My wife and I go to dinner. So food is super important. I know a lot of people may say, maybe health experts or nutrition experts will downplay the importance of food. But let's be honest, food is very important to us. And when somebody says no, you may appear as a bad guest or unsocial. Um, and that can be difficult, right? Like it can be hard to say, no, I'm not going to eat any of that. A few weeks ago, I was at a poker game with some friends, and they ordered pizza, and I wasn't eating the pizza. And you could definitely see like a little bit of a reaction of, oh, okay, like, they got it, but they didn't really get why, or they didn't really understand, or to them it kind of seemed harmless because we don't see food generally as a problem. We don't see it, in my case especially, as an addiction. Um, when you're on this journey, for many of us, you come to the conclusion that food is part of your problem. And when you get into ketosis and you're no longer carb dependent, and you get that clear mind and all the benefits, you start to realize that maybe you did have a little bit of an addiction, and the rest of the world might not see it that way, or the world that you're in might not see it that way. So that becomes a little bit of a problem and a little bit of source of tension at times, potentially, that it could be. Another thing that kind of rubs people the wrong way sometimes is how excited you are about your journey and the progress you've made and the things that you've learned. If you're anything like me, when you learn something and it works tremendously, you want to tell everybody. Or you might be at that party and be like, oh no, I'm not going to eat that. You know what that stuff does to you? Nobody wants to hear that. You're going to do it, and I know I've been guilty of it more times than I can count in the last 10 months. It happens. Just as much as the confusion on that side happens, where you may feel awkward, you may make people feel awkward by talking about it at length. Um, and I think that's probably happened a few times to me, to be honest. But it's one of those things that really didn't hurt anybody, and you're it's hard to keep in something that is so positive and so beneficial to you. So that's some of the awkward type of situations, or at least why they happen. It's your excitement It's the social norms that you're kind of going against. And people really don't understand what food does to them unless they take a good hard look at the effects of all these refined sugars and grains and seed oils that we put into our body. So you have that. Um, but like I've said, the response for me has been overwhelmingly positive. I'm just trying to relay some things that I've noticed in some situations that might make it uncomfortable or awkward. And I don't want anybody to feel that they don't have the support of the keto community behind them. So a video like this talking about these things, I think is pretty important. Now, some of the ways you see it manifested. And one of those kind of related to that food as an addiction thing is somebody may say to you, oh, it's just a little bit. You can have just a little bit. And you're going to adamantly say no, hopefully. They don't realize the problem that food is for you, that for many of us it is an addiction, right? And you wouldn't offer an alcoholic, you wouldn't say, okay, I know you can't drink. Don't drink the whole bottle of whiskey, just have a shot. If somebody told you in response, I'm an alcoholic, I really can't do that, you would respect those limits. In the same way, I'm a carbaholic. Can you please respect my limits? And while I've never said that, it's that here's just a little bit, it can't hurt. It can't hurt. Our need to kind of not unravel things or kind of keep the herd smooth or what have you. That pressure you don't need, and that little bit may reverse a lot of growth and a lot of success that you've had. And it's your decision to do it, but that's what you're going to come across is merely what I'm pointing out. And it probably doesn't come from a negative place. It probably just comes from, the desire for you to want to join in and socialize. But there's other ones that are probably a little more aggravating to deal with. The second one I would say would be the medical experts. And those are people that will repeat and kind of regurgitate what they've heard in pop culture or mainstream media or however you want to term it about food and diet. And they may come up to you and they may say, oh, you're on the keto diet, but what about your cholesterol? And a few times I've answered, well, do you mean my HDL or my LDL cholesterol? Or, since I stopped seed oils, my cholesterol has been fantastic. I don't have any problems with my omega-6s. You could give them a whole wide variety of answers. I wouldn't recommend firing off a bunch of YouTube videos at them, but in general, I'm trying to diffuse that discussion or situation as best I can because it's really not the place for them. And between what you're doing and the results for your body and their nobody's a nutrition expert that you're talking to generally. It's not, it's what they've read. And even if they're in the medical field, how often do those people keep up on nutrition? And it's just something you kind of have to deal with, and they may or may not get mad. And depending on your personality, you may want to egg them on, you may want to debate them, or you just may want to avoid that discussion. But I would say don't get off track of what you're doing just because somebody asked you a question about your cholesterol and you started to worry about it. There's plenty of resources online to help you discover those answers for yourself. So there's that. And like I said, I'm overwhelmed with the support that I get on a daily basis. And sometimes I do talk about it a good bit to strangers or what have you. But that's just my personality and my way. And the responses are so positive and overwhelming, I can't tell you. But I did want to cover some of the negative, at least to have it for people that are on this journey. And one of the negatives that I've seen is you'll get a lot of positive responses. And then you'll get some people that are really condescending in that positive response. And it's less like they're happy and proud of you, and more like you're a child learning to use the potty for the first time, if that makes any sense. It's like, oh my God, that's so good for you, or something to that effect, where they clearly communicate to you that you're beneath them for having to do this. And my friends and family, by and large, have not been like that at all. Some acquaintances, people that I didn't know very well, kind of responded to me that way, and my response was, "Is I don't know you, I don't like you. Uh, okay, whatever your opinion is, and if you want to pretend to be supportive about it and really be condescending, have at it. That doesn't bother me at all." And I will say it multiple times. Nothing tastes as good as success feels, so you're just going to have to deal with it. And you may find in the change in you, not everybody is ready for the new you. Not everybody is ready for that metamorphosis, or that regrowing of who you are. And some people may not like those changes. Some people may not like what it makes them ask them of themselves. Because in my case, I will say, I was a big fella. I did not appear like I had a lot of discipline or will or conviction to do something like this. And while I still may be a big fella, I am significantly smaller. And I think there were people, like I said, acquaintances, not my friends and family, not the people that love me necessarily. Not at all. There were people that kind of looked like they were surprised that I could do something like this. Like they had always thought less of me. And, most of the time I ignore it. Every once in a while, I'll use that as fuel, knowing that there are a few of them. But when you interact something like that, or you see that for a moment, it does kind of jar you or shake you up a little bit. So maybe, there's times where I want to cheat, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to give any of those people the satisfaction. People look down on me for the way I was. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction, and that kind of helps me get through those little bumps without any problems. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more ways people interact. Like I said, most of it's positive. It's really awesome when people tell you how much they respect what you're doing. It's really awesome when people ask for advice. Nothing's better than that. But some of those responses that you get, sometimes you get, things that are like a little offsetting or off-putting, is a better way to put it. And just, you deal with them and you go through, but just know that you're not alone when those things happen. There's plenty of us here. I always find that watching some videos helps after something like that, where I kind of reinforce in my mind why I'm doing it and what I'm doing. And then talking about it and sharing with it, and finding other people in the community, like here on YouTube, that are going on similar journeys, whether it's keto or carnivore, their amazing success. And it really helps reaffirm what you're doing. And it reminds you, probably the most important thing, that no food will ever taste as good as success feels. And with that, have a good night.